Hello, guys. You are with your host, Tequila, and my co host, Eddie Quincus Jr. And as you guys can tell, we're on a more of a change of scenery at the moment because we had to visit Eddie's family due to certain circumstances in his family. And this episode, we just kind of wanted to be freestyled a little bit because, it's a late drop, and of course, everybody has had their day's already ahead of them and already spent their day with their loved ones. And, I think this episode, I'm going to kind of let you take the role
Oh,
on this one because this one is more oriented for you, being that you just spent time with your family and, you know,
thank you,
with
babe.
me now being here with you. Like, how has that been for you? And,
Well, it's been very good for me. Bay here has met a good portion of my family now. On both sides, my last name, being Quakus, I separate the two of us. There is, the northern Quincuses, such as myself, and then the southern Quincuses.
mm-hmm.
And she got to meet all of them pretty much fully. I wish it was under better circumstances, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't due to a personal family loss of mine. And this whole weekend and this unfortunate, circumstances that we've gone through has really led to the freestyle of this episode being more about family,
Mm-hmm.
oriented. And that's something big for me. I think it's also something big for both of us in a sense, me being Latin and also island background, just like my girl here.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think the reason why it's important is because the strong value that you gain from it,
Mm-hmm.
and it took a certain movie that we recently watched, DC Comics' very own Blue Beetle,
Mm-hmm. It's
which,
a definite recommendation for you guys to see, especially if you're like, you have Latin background, or if you have like a family oriented family where you just love your family and you feel inspired. That's one of the movies to watch, and I highly recommend it. Indeed, I
definitely,
cried. I teared up a little bit, but
yeah, it was. It almost
it
was a
was a
teardropper
tearjerker.
for me. Almost. I almost had the teardrop myself. Uh, yeah, sorry. One thing about us Latins, I
The
tell you, is
undefeated brush.
gotta keep fresh. Gotta keep this, nicely fresh always and stuff. And I'm a barber, so it's in our nature. But nah, back to the topic of it being family oriented, and lately being here has helped me in a way identify my true support system,
Mm-hmm.
which is my family. Honestly, I'm grateful to some of my friends and some people who have made an effort to help me as of lately and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be honest, it's just not working. It's not. Only because I feel like too, it's like it's easy to say something to us or
Mm-hmm.
tell me something to help, ease pain or encourage or so on. But it can't be, I can't really take it in a good way because it's like, have you gone through what I just went through, what we just went through? And lately, when we were down here, we kind of were able to receive that from my side of the family, especially one of my
Mm-hmm.
uncles and my aunts coming up to the both of us and telling his story of how, he lost one of his children in a similar fashion to Bay and I.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to understand and relate because I can feel and he can feel what I went through as I
Mm-hmm.
felt what he went through.
Mm-hmm.
And this is on my side of the family as
Yeah.
well. And I think that's what helped me. And she was there to witness it.
Mm-hmm. I also think because your family has gone through, yeah, like you have a lot more family members that have gone through something similar to what we have gone through. It also helps with our healing, also, and just being able to, in a sense, be more open to them because you know it's hard to lose someone, and it's extremely hard to lose your own children and stuff like that. And I think a lot of his family members have helped us give us a lot of words of encouragement because they have gone through something that we specifically have gone through. And you know, being here has definitely shown me, like, a lot of my family haven't gone through what we have gone through. Most of them haven't, but, I feel like, with your side, they're a lot more in tune to know exactly what we're going through. And on my side, thankfully, some of them haven't gone through exactly what we have gone through, but, just hearing words from the opposite side of my family definitely helps me a lot too, because yeah, I have family support also, but I think that having outside family also helps a lot too, and
Yeah.
it shows how strong,
And
I
we
could become.
yeah, we saw that this weekend. Due to an unfortunate loss in my family.
Mhm.
Let's just say this one member left his mark truly, and I saw that with the people that came in attendance,
Mhm.
more than 75 to 80 people at his celebration of his sunset. And you know, his love and passion for cars and everything,
Mhm.
his seeking out the American dream in his fashion and how he knew how to do it and stuff, that just went to show me that, that I can do the same as well. And the person I speak of is my uncle, and I told my aunt to one of the, an amazing, funny, kind of a funny and yet inspirational story at the same time when we met up afterwards after the celebration service and everything. We all gathered, and my dad kind of like, broke the ice and was like trying to get everybody to share their stories and
Mhm.
impact of what he had, on this world and what he left behind. And definitely, I shared a story one time of how, growing up, every other Sunday, my dad was working on his bug, his car, and every other Sunday he would come and just hang out with my dad and stuff and say what's up to us. And he got into the game of football courtesy of my brother and I. Long story short, this was the game where Tampa Bay made the 62-yard field goal. And all hope is lost. They're about to attempt it. He looks to my dad, and at the same time, while having me in the living room, he's like, "You never know, Eddie. He could make it." In
Mhm.
his Crucian accent, because half of my family is from the U.S. Virgin Islands, Saint Croix. He told him, "You never know, Eddie. The man could make it." And like, kick goes up, and he's like, "What I tell you? What I tell you? I gonna tell you. I tell you." I said that story to everyone, and they laughed, and there was smiles and everything, including my aunt.
Mhm.
But all jokes aside, I told her, it's through the relationship that my uncle had with my brother is what my brother and I, when we talked about this leading up to when, we were coming down here, is that's what we inspire to be, and that's what we hope to have in the future. And there's no doubt in mind, I'm sure, my uncle's two sons will have that as well.
Mhm.
They have challenges coming their way with grief and everything. So it's like, also at the same time too, I can now I can relate because
Mhm.
of the loss of I
And
mean the
before that, you couldn't relate
yeah,
because you
I
never
couldn't because
experienced.
I
Well,
never
you've
experienced.
experienced it, but it
Yeah,
wasn't in the extent in which we have
yeah. And
before.
afterwards, like, we all met up at, you know uh, their house and everything. Even after, when all was said and done, it was just all a family and close friends that wanted to come. And here's the thing also that I've identified in recent salud,
Thank
bless
you.
you, that I've experienced in recent with the loss of my godmother and now this. The unfortunate thing is that what is like, family comes together, but sometimes they come together due to loss.
Mhm.
And so much on my side and my mom and dad's side was brought together in this because
Mhm.
of I had uh, a friend of the family that discovered his great uncle at
Mhm.
the get together after the celebration of my uncle's sunset.
Mhm.
And also at the same time, I met two cousins, that I never met in my life, but I was familiar with. And I was able to just talk, and I said to them, you may not be as familiar with me, but I am with you, man. And it's just great to finally meet you. you know I just
Mhm.
wish it was under better circumstances. and we talked it up and everything. And the good thing about it is, even though it takes the loss of family to
Mhm.
truly bring all of us together, then conversations begin, relationships begin, and it leads to like planning of like one of my cousins was saying he wants to get like something together next year where
With
we
all the
all,
cousins.
yeah, where we all just meet and conversate and talk. And he wants to know that Spanish half of the family because he was used to the Crucian half all his life on the islands in the VI.
Mhm.
So that and then stuff like that I'm down for, and I don't want to take for granted. That's another thing that what's taught me, being back in my hometown again, Avon Park, Highlands County, Florida, and also in the
Oh.
town next door where my dad lives, Sebring. If any of you guys know where that is, wow, I'm amazed. If you don't, no man's land. It's not south
Indeed.
and it's not central, south central. I mean, if there's South Central LA, you could have South Central Florida too. I don't
I
understand.
guess I'll give
Yeah,
you that.
but yeah, that's one thing a lot of my family likes and doesn't like at the same time.
Mhm.
That it takes a
It takes
great
someone to
loss.
pass in order for
Yeah.
everybody to get together. Like, where was the support when they were here?
Mhm.
And I think majority of my family on my dad's side, especially, like, you know, I think they're more so there when the passing has occurred. And I just want that to change in people. Like, be there for that person when they're here, not just when they pass.
Yeah.
Like, when someone's going through something or have gone through something like very traumatic, or just be there for them. Don't wait until they're past to give people flowers. Like, I
Yeah.
think you should give your flowers to people when they're here, because it's always been that type. Like, whether it be black families, whether that's Latin families, like his side of the family and stuff. Like, being in a biracial relationship, you see the different perspectives of family and everything. And I think being from a black family, all I've seen was, gatherings when there's a funeral. And I've been taught in different ways, like being introduced to your family, that there's more to there's more to family than that. Like, I've always been the type, like, okay, someone passed, we're going to the funeral.
Yeah.
But, like, you need to be in support of your family when they're here.
Yeah.
And even if it's like a phone call or something, like, you never want to make the
Yeah.
person feel lonely. And I
Yeah.
think that's how I've been feeling. I know, because, like, with the passing of our son and everything, I've resorted to being in an alone state, because, like, I just didn't want to be a burden to other people. And I just felt like dealing with everything that we were going through was heavy. Like, it was like some real tough stuff to go through. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to be a burden to my family or anything like that. But, sometimes it's like a silent cry when
Yeah.
you go through something like very heavy and stuff. You
We.
always want to have that
Yeah.
support, but you don't know how to ask for it.
Yeah.
And I think that even without grieving, like, and just normalcy of life, like, if you need the help, ask for it.
Yeah.
There it comes with pride. Like, it's a pride thing, and I
Yeah.
have a lot of pride sometimes too, where I don't like asking for help from
I
people.
also think to add on to that, I was also going to add to that is like in the beginning at the time when we lost our son, it was like a lot of
Mhm.
people on both sides of the family were instantly in support. At first comes all of God's plan and everything else like
Mhm.
that, which listen, I come from a Hispanic evangelist slash Pentecostal
Yeah.
background and stuff, and I respect that. That's stuff you don't want to necessarily hear immediately,
Mhm.
but you need
And
yeah,
that's just part of the anger that comes with,
yeah, but
you know.
you need time just for a minute, then come back to it.
Mhm.
Truly, do not close it out completely, and that's what I've been able to do, and it just amazes me. But at the same time, like it goes back to what I said, that it takes great loss to truly bring everybody together.
Mhm.
And when it does happen, when people meet and gather, I'm seeing not only, of course, these relationships, reignite, but I'm also seeing memories
Mhm.
reignite. Long lost that many in on my both sides of my family, my mom's and my dad's, that have long forgotten.
Yeah.
That really kind of helps set the foundation of what was planted for, both sides of my family here in Highlands County,
Mhm.
courtesy of my godmother, my grandmother's sister, my aunt, rest in peace, which, opened up the doors to my mom and my dad when they first came to this
Mhm.
country, which then opened up the doors for my uncle and his family. So you
Mhm.
see the trend of that foundation that she did.
Mhm.
My dad would have not come to the States had it been for her and her husband opening up the doors to him and my mom.
Mhm.
And my uncle would have not come to the States had my dad
That's
not been
usually the
here.
case with
Yeah,
island families. Like that's
yeah.
the same with my grandma. You know, we had my aunt who passed. Rest in peace, Monty Baldo. Um, if it had not been for her, you know, marrying into her citizenship and her being married to my uncle Roy and everything, I think that a lot of our families wouldn't be where they
Yeah,
are.
a
I
lot.
probably might have been born in Jamaica for all I know, and then
And
I
they,
probably wouldn't be
yeah,
who I am. Probably a different
my
version,
yeah, my
but.
dad and my mom in the beginning were setting their foundation for my older sister, and even
Mhm.
in up and coming me and my brother. We were
Mhm.
probably gonna be born on the VI. We were
Possibly, yeah.
possibly gonna be true born and raised Kujan folk,
Mhm.
but it took Hurricane Hugo, which was a Category 5 that wreaked havoc years and years ago in the Caribbean, and pretty
Mhm.
much wiped out half of the island. You know, but it was because of that that
Yeah.
my dad and my mom knew that they needed a change, and they like the foundation that they thought they were going to have on the islands for us was wiped out. It was destroyed.
Mhm.
Luckily, the help of my family, my aunt and my uncle, who became my godparents,
Mhm.
they opened up the doors and were willing to let my dad and my mom get settled,
Mhm.
until they got everything, until they ended up getting this house we're in right now.
Yeah.
So it's no coincidence also that we're having this episode back in my hometown, in this house where I grew up and where I got the crazy scar,
Mm. It looks like
which
a tattoo.
yeah, that my dad just explained to her earlier.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's true truly the importance of family. Like, I get it; it can be overbearing sometimes when they don't respect certain
Mhm.
boundaries, which have been discussed, I think, in some of your episodes.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of family members
but
that
in
don't
the
respect
end, they will
boundaries.
understand. They will understand because I've seen it come along with my dad. It took
Mhm.
them. It took them. That's the thing you guys all have to understand too. When patience is a virtue, which I like to say, you have to learn patience,
Mhm.
and I promise you,
I had
it
to
will
learn
pay.
patience with your behind. Mm.
And you
Some
see,
real
yeah,
patience.
and
And I never had patience before, ever.
but I had to learn it through me, and
Mm.
it took a minute. I kid you not, it took a minute, as it did with my own personal family, mom, dad, you name it, my sister, my brother, and everything, boundaries and set and
Because
stuff.
even my that
Yeah.
from my family, we have no patience. I don't know not one of my family members that has patience. Not one. Not my dad. Not my mom.
But
Not my
yeah,
grandma. Even my sweet old grandma. She don't have no patience.
but
None.
all I was gonna
Now
say
now she
was,
might
yeah,
because
that
she's older. But
it'll eventually pay off in the end. It just takes time, time, and that's key.
yeah.
That's key.
Mhm.
And I mean, I was able to accomplish that with a good chunk of my immediate family, and
Mhm.
still learning with some others too, as well. And I've I feel a good change as of recently in these past 2 weeks. Like, certain things that I've let get to me and stuff. You know what? It's like, I'm just gonna be strong about this in my way of how I know how to do it and what's gonna help me. And I told them just basically, I'm not gonna give up. I just don't. Yeah. And that's me learning to take charge of certain situations that have a hold and effect on me. And I'm learning through that to truly channel focus, which is something I like to use a lot. When you're watching TV or streaming something and you're focused on that channel or that stream, that's channel focus. So I apply that in real life. I'm just channel focusing on being straight up forward, on what is affecting me and shutting it down. And if the certain person or certain someone is not gonna like it, I don't care, man. I don't care. It's just for my well-being. You know, it may upset you, it may bother you, but I don't know what to do, and I can't help you on that. Thoughts on that, babe?
You do, like I said, setting boundaries with people. That's my forte. I don't mind telling people when and where to go and how to f off. Um, but I hope that this gives you the voice that you need, and that you feel is appropriate for you. As far as me, I know my boundaries with people. They know their boundaries with me. They know not to cross me, and if they do, they will feel it. So if that's how you decide to perceive how that goes, even if that involves family and friends, by all means.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, certain family, they're gonna get that too. Um, yeah, I mean, and as far as friends goes, I think that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah, that's another conversation, because
That's
I've had an episode before where I've talked about setting boundaries and stuff like that. But
yeah,
that's another
that's
topic
another
for another
topic
day.
for another day. But
Oh, and one more thing, guys. As you guys have known, September 7th of last year, I created the More to Me podcast. But after everything has happened, I changed the title name to the Forte podcast. So we have reached a year into podcasting. It's been a year, and every day it's been a blessing. I've had that hiatus for quite some time, but I think I needed that. But I thank you guys each and every day for the support that you give me, and we have reached 38 downloads.
Yeah, to whoever the
You
anonymous
guys are
viewers
so
are,
supportive,
thank you.
and we thank you so much.
Thank you.
That has been a blessing to us. Small steps into big success.
Yes, to all of her supporters and stuff. Also, I thank you as well.
And I thank you too for being the support
I've shared
system.
this with like lots of my friends on my stories
We
on
love
social
you guys.
media and stuff
We
like that. So
truly do.
to my friends who may have come across this episode and who've been watching, thank you.
Thank you.
On a fun note, too,
from the bottom of our heart.
Coming September 10th, which is tomorrow when you watch this video, but
big things, big things. Being our unofficial anniversary tomorrow.
She likes to call it the unofficial.
It is the unofficial because you did not ask me to be your girlfriend until December, but yes, or September 10th is the first day that we met.
Yes,
in person after a couple of years of ducking each other, and
a year. I want
to say a year.
It's
a year because 2020 is when we met. So
September 10th is our unofficial
anniversary.
Unofficial / finally met in person anniversary. And long story short, I remember it like it was yesterday, sort of. Still long curly hair at the time.
We already went to the store.
Rabbit jersey.
Yes, y'all know. If y'all didn't listen to the other episode, go check into that episode about the origin of how we became.
It's more than that. That's and it's on a Sunday this year, the 10th, when we go back up on our bus ride.
Yep.
I recommend Red Coach. I'll put that out.
I don't recommend that crap. It has gotten expensive. If y'all got the money,
for two people, yes. For one, it's reasonable.
No, it's not. Cause to and from it used to be $70, and now it's $120.
It depends on the time. It depends on the time. It depends on the time that you want to leave.
There was nothing special about this week going on, but Red Coach, because the inflation, everything has gone up.
This is why I wish we could get Amtrak to just run through Tallahassee on the way down, because
that's even more expensive.
Amtrak runs through Sebring and then goes up.
It's even more expensive, love. I can promise you that.
And probably more stops. Like, let me see. They would Tallahassee, Gainesville, maybe a smaller town, Orlando, and then Sebring.
I'm manifesting it for myself and for us. Definitely for us. We are going to be rich one day. And I mean, not just rich. We are going to be wealthy. Everything is going to be in wealth. Everything is going to be wealthy. Our mindset is going to be wealthy. We won't ever have to live paycheck to paycheck again. And I'm manifesting that for myself because
I'm not going to let all of money buy me happiness. Money
Listen
can
here.
buy
They say
you.
money isn't
Yeah,
the happiness, or money
yeah.
doesn't bring happiness. It does to me. It
It,
does to me.
but it doesn't buy you true happiness.
It
That's all
don't.
I'm gonna say.
But
Money
I sure
buys
get
you.
happy when I see my account full.
Money
Hmm.
buys you a somewhat
Check that box,
happiness,
honey.
but it doesn't buy you true happiness.
Hmm.
You know, and I'm gonna give you an example what true happiness is to me. Love that I get from this one.
You get a lot of love from that.
You know,
Hmm.
and of course, you know, alongside her, I would say, is love of my family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which this episode is about being family oriented. That is truly my happiness. Being back, you know, in my hometown, and you know, just having good memories come back to me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but it comes at an unfortunate circumstance. But it's good to have those memories reignited within yourself, within your mind. You need them. You need
Mm-hmm.
them, especially when it brings me back to a time where I felt like things were so simple, and you know, it also shows how far you may have come, wherever, you know, whatever your situation may be. You know, just take the time to really truly look back on where you came from, where you started,
Mm-hmm.
and how you got here. In a sense, was also the help of, you know, being in those moments with family. And I truly, you know, am grateful to my uncle being a part of that, you know, and showing my brother and I the kind of relationship you want to have with your siblings, with your brother. It may not be the same
I don't
for
know about
some.
that,
It may not be the same for some,
but
but hopefully you will find a way. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm in no advice to give on that part, but I think
I
that's
mean, you can, because you have a good relationship with your siblings. That's something that you can advise. But as
yeah.
far as me, I'm not gonna speak
Four
on it
four sisters, one
because
brother.
I don't really have the best relationship with certain siblings. But yeah. On that note, we will be ending this podcast on a positive note.
Yes.
And again, we thank you guys for your support. All of those that have tuned into our
Yeah.
podcast. We truly love you guys, and we hope you
Yeah.
guys have a blessed day.
Thank you for welcoming me to this podcast, and
Of
hopefully,
course.
you know, I enjoy being on this with you, and hopefully we can make more of this, and
Yes, I see big
hopefully,
things for this podcast, and I see
yes,
big things for both of us as
yes,
well.
and hopefully we won't let, you know, podcast fame get the best of us.
Oh
I mean,
nah.
I
Oh,
would
you
enjoy
always
it,
remain humble,
but yeah,
no matter what.
yeah, no matter what. And I like I said, I don't want podcast fame to corrupt. There are podcast couples that get corrupt with
Yeah,
this stuff.
no.
Mm-mm.
In
But
Jesus'
in
name,
Jesus' name, we forbid that
we sure do. We rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
big time.
But anyways, y'all, thanks again for tuning in. Of course, we're gonna end off this podcast just by saying we love you guys. We thank you guys for the
Yes.
support again. Endlessly, we will keep saying it.
Gracias.
Yes, and basically, we just hope all of you guys are, doing well on the other side of the screen, and that you guys continue to be prosperous. You guys continue to be wealthy in the mindset, and to peace and blessings to you all. And we wish you guys
Yeah.
a good night.
I dedicate this episode to you, Uncle. Thank you.
Yes, Theo Boo,
Yo,
we
boo.
love you.